we are on site at St. Mary's Golf and Country Club. Today I want to talk to you about the top mistakes I see officiants making all the time. As always, I've got my own gear that I'm going to get set up for today's ceremony. You can buy the exact same sound system that I bring to every single wedding at the link below. Now, let's get into the top mistakes I see officiants make. They haven't reviewed the script enough to make it sound natural. You'll learn in my course, Deliver Better Ceremonies, that I use a template that is rock solid for every one of the ceremonies that I perform, and then I personalize it like crazy by injecting a ton of stories into it and then tightening it so it sounds like something really seamless and something really great, something like a friend would share. By having a script that I know incredibly well, it allows me to deliver it in a way that feels really natural, really smooth, as if I know the couple incredibly well. And that's really important to delivering the best ceremonies. If you're writing a new ceremony from scratch for every ceremony that you're delivering, that means you're never gonna have it perfected. And then you're gonna be reading it versus delivering it. And we wanna make sure that we're actually delivering the ceremony, not standing there reading our iPad or reading our notes the entire time. They haven't spent time reviewing the names. Look, I know this one sounds really obvious, but you want to make sure that you spend enough time before each ceremony reviewing the names of the couple and the pronunciation. You might perform 1,000 ceremonies, maybe perform a ceremony earlier that day. You need to learn to turn the page on that first one and focus just on this upcoming ceremony. Before every ceremony, I like to spend time reading their names over and over and reminding myself exactly of who they are and how to pronounce their names perfectly. Here's the thing, if you get the names wrong, you're forever that guy that got the names wrong. For every guest that was at that wedding, you're gonna be brought up for the rest of eternity as, hey, remember the time that guy got that name wrong? You don't wanna be that guy. They're not flexible. Look, there's a certain degree of winging it that is required for every ceremony. Because look, these are highly emotional events and details change all the time. You need to be able to act on the fly and be able to make adjustments on the go. It's very common that I'll have a couple come up to me right before the ceremony and say, hey, look, Jeff, we've made a change to the processional, or we want to include our grandparent, or we want to do something different. And my response every time is, great, I love it, let's do it. And I'll just figure out how to do it later. It's perfectly fine. You need to be able to adjust to things like that. Another note about being flexible is knowing when to call out some of the awkwardness or tension that might be in a ceremony. For example, I did a ceremony last year where it was myself, the bride, and her dad hanging out, and she was just about to head down the aisle. Things weren't looking great for Dad. He'd only been given a couple months, and that's where they wanted to speed up their ceremony. And right before they walked down the aisle, he was just talking to her and trying to comfort her as she was crying and saying, hey, look, I'm gonna be here with you every step of the way. I'm gonna be watching down over you, and I can't wait to see how your life plays out and watch your marriage grow. And as you can imagine, it was very emotional. They were both crying. I was crying before the ceremony even started. We walk down the aisle, we get into the ceremony space, everyone's crying because everyone knows what's going on. It's no secret. And as we got up to the front, I felt like I needed to call it out and say to everyone, hey, look, everyone, we got to pump the brakes a little bit here. We're here to celebrate. That's what we're here to do. We want to have some fun today. And you could just feel the tension ease off. Everyone wanted someone to call it out and wanted the opportunity to celebrate because Dad was here. He was still here, and they wanted to have fun and enjoy that moment and not have the day be overshadowed or marked by sadness. And that's one of the ways that you can call out some of that awkwardness. And I think everyone really appreciated that. In fact, I know after the ceremony, a lot of them said, hey, we're glad that you kind of mentioned it because it helped us feel better about celebrating. They go rogue. When you arrive on site, you want to communicate with the team and make sure you're all working from the same playbook.
So for the kiss, is it before or after the sign?
For you and me or the couple?
Well, which one do you want? That's two questions.
That's not what we're two questions. We're going to sign, and then all the good stuff happens after the sign.
Perfect.
So sign, declaration, kiss presentation right after.
Wonderful.
I have a question.
Sure.
Oh boy.
Okay.
This is a lot. This is too many now. I said one question, he has two. This is a third question. Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay. So Taylor wants to wear her blusher, and she wants to know at what point should it be lifted. So I'm like, I'm gonna ask you.
You're just deferring to me, like okay.
So
I didn't even know what it was.
Wear
Okay.
a veil that's
Yep.
like over top.
Yep.
At what point do you have them?
So she's coming in with her dad. I think I was just looking up the processional actually. I'm gonna head up to the front, do a quick announcement. Once the announcement's done, starts the formal side of the processional. Mark's gonna come in.
Maybe when she faces him, Mark, you can go
I think the
ahead.
second she faces him, yeah. It's almost like if
I think that makes sense.
if the three of them are standing side by side, like she's here, parents are on the side,
Yeah,
and
keep it
your
down,
Mark,
and
he
then-
will like kind of come up, take it off, and then something like that.
Perfection.
We figured it out. We just made
Love
it up.
it.
That's great. I love making stuff up.
Using your handheld for all secondary stuff. assuming?
Yeah, I'll use it for it'll be all good. It'll be easy enough.
Okay, that means I can unplug some stuff and move it to the other room early.
Okay, sweet. Sounds good. A lot of questions. Question from the photographer, question from the DJ. And that's really important. Over communication is best because sometimes the details that you get from the couple beforehand aren't the same ones that have been communicated to all the other vendors. So it's nice to make sure you're all in the same playbook, you're all operating with the same stuff. And then it's also me that's going to be leading the ceremony. So I want to make sure that they know exactly where they're going to want to be for the most important photos and images and the cues for the song. So that's what we're going through right there. And we're going to nail it. It's going to be great. In fact, I made an entire video about the vendors that you're going to want to connect with when you arrive on site. You can check that video out below. A couple of those cues that you're going to want to connect with the vendors about are things like the first kiss. When is it happening? And for a photographer, they're going to really want to know that because they want to make sure they're prepared to take that photo. Another one is reminding the guests to stand as that second person comes in.
Family and friends, if you're able, would you please stand?
Or just as importantly, telling them to sit down.
Family and friends, why don't you go ahead and grab a seat, please?
Sometimes officiants forget to do that and the guests feel awkward and stay standing the whole ceremony. You don't want that. Speaking of the first kiss, they don't get out of the way of the important images. I made a video about exactly this, the most important images that you need to make sure you get out of the way of. If you want to check that video out, it's also linked below. They make it all a joke. Look, I like to walk a fine line between having fun, laughing, and celebrating, while also recognizing the seriousness of marriage. That's what we're here to actually do. You want to make sure that you have substance and depth to your ceremonies. I like to remind couples that, hey, marriage is going to be hard, but it's the best adventure that you're going to go on, and it only gets better over time. They make the ceremony about themselves, and they turn it into a roast on the couple. Look, you might be shocked what couples will tell me about their relationship, about them personally, but look, I need to use a filter and not include all those stories in a ceremony. I need to know which ones are going to be appropriate to share in front of parents, coworkers, friends. Look, we're not trying to give grandma a heart attack here, right? We need to use our best discretion for the stories that we want to include in their ceremony. We also just want to make sure that we paint the couple in the most positive light. We want to share those stories that are going to accomplish exactly that. And sometimes you can allude to stories without actually telling them, and the right people are going to know it and laugh, and it's going to go over everyone else's head. Those are sometimes the most perfect way to get that story in there without actually telling those details. They didn't do a mic check before the ceremony with the DJ. Look, this is really important when you need to connect with that DJ and you need to get a feel for the equipment that they're going to be using and make sure it's the right levels for you, make sure that you feel comfortable with it. If it's okay, I got a wireless
You have the wireless? Perfect.
thing ready to go, and then during the ceremony for their vows, they can just steal that thing as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sorry, dude, I'm Jeff, by the way.
Jake, nice to meet
Jake, I don't know if we've actually met before or worked. Is it AK Productions? Is that
Yeah.
what you Okay, perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're using that stuff, that's awesome. And then, what I can do is this is obviously, I'm guessing, their signing table.
Yeah,
I can just leave this on here. So if we have to, just for their vows, I can leave it there.
perfect. Music, you're doing all
Yep.
that stuff as well? Okay,
Yeah,
sweet.
and-
Before the formal side of the processional starts, I'm gonna head up to the front, do a quick announcement, welcome everybody, try and get people fired up. We'll see what we can do. After that's done, which will be pretty obvious, I'm gonna say, like, folks, are we ready to get started?
Yep.
That's the
Just
formal
give me a
side. So
nod
just
and then go. Yep.
beautiful. All the good stuff happens after the signing, so we'll sign, then go back to the front, and then it's like announcements, declaration, kiss, presentation, all happen
So you do
consecutively.
signing first.
Yeah, kiss will be at it's the very last thing is the kiss, and then we'll go straight into the processional. Yeah, and it's an obvious, like, hey folks, we're gonna take a minute, we're gonna go sign the marriage license, like it's, and for the recessional, hit the track like, whenever you want. If it's when they kiss, that's great. I normally just yell over top of it, so it's perfectly fine.
What I'll do is I'll probably give you about 10 seconds of mid volume, and then I'm going to crank it.
Awesome.
So that way you can shout and do what you need to do.
Sweet.
And yeah, I'll launch right at kiss, and I'll just fade it in. So as
Dude,
soon
it's
as
the
you're
best.
done doing it.
You also want to talk about the cues of when you like to talk, because sometimes what they'll do is they'll actually duck the audio out on the microphone, and for me, I don't love that, which is why I bring my own equipment, so that way I always have control over it. But again, connect with the DJ, go through all of those cues. They don't connect with the venue staff when they arrive. Look, if you're doing this professionally, here's a bonus tip for you. You want to make sure that you connect with the vendors and the venue staff of every place that you go, because they are going to be your biggest advocates, and they're going to be able to talk to their clients about you and be your biggest fans. So make sure to connect with them, make sure you know their business name, make sure you know them, get to know them well, and that way you can refer each other and you can continue to grow your business that way. Congratulations.
Yeah, the humor put me at ease right away.
It was great. Thank you, Jeff.
Congrats.
Yeah, it was
You guys
so
are
good.
amazing up there. Your bows are
Yeah.
so good, so good. I've got the vow books in here.
Oh,
Your
perfect.
record solemnizations in here.
Excellent.
I'm gonna put this into the card box, so you got nothing to
Perfect.
think about.
Amazing.
Do you guys need anything in the moment? Do you want a drink or anything?
I think we're good.
Is anyone getting you a drink? Do you want something?
I'll get,
just had
I'll get
some,
something
yeah.
after the picture.
After the picture? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much
You're
for
so welcome.
everything. It
You're
was so
welcome.
perfect.
I got a long night ahead of me.
Yeah, let's do a Jeff.
Is that
photo.
okay?
Yeah,
Oh
of
man, that'd be
course.
great. I can't be in the middle. Am I going in the middle?
Yeah,
Jeff
in the middle.
Oh my gosh. Awesome.
All right.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you
very
Jeff.
much.
Welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Thank
Okay,
you
see you.
so
Bye.
much.
10 out of 10. The best. The best couple.